Continuing reading from A Mountain in Tibet, starting where we left off on page 11. The winter months were bitterly cold even during the day. I was in and out of all the houses in the village, just one component of a rolling ball of small boys dashing from one warm house to another. We played like wild puppies in the space on the ground floor of the large stone houses where herds of yaks and goats were stabled for the winter. I recall playing hide and seek, burrowing through straw, dodging yaks as they munched and trying not to slip in their turds as I searched for my companions. Inevitably, we would mistime our leaps and land with a splat in the yak turd, but that was all part of the fun. One of the adult duties was to shovel the animals' soiled bedding outside, where it would dry into huge piles to be used as fertilizer in the springtime. Those dung heaps were another irresistible hiding place, since they were always cozy and dry. We must have been grubby little creatures with straw in our hair and dried dung on our legs, but the air was so cold and dry that I don't recall any smell, and we didn't feel filthy, only carefree. There was no sanitation, of course, no running water. In the corner of the house was a long drop latrine that fed into a deep hole in the ground. We washed using tubs of water in front of the fire. On the top floor of the house was a large hay mow for storage, where we kept the crops dry, mostly barley, to make a winter's worth of food. The middle floor was divided into different rooms for sleeping, living, cooking, and storage of clothing and adult belongings, which were packed away in chests. There was a special guest room for visiting lamas that was kept very nicely, with soft furnishings and decorations on the wall. In most of the house, smoke from the fire would darken the walls no matter what you did, so they were just left as plain wood. The guest room was the only one where walls were plastered and painted, and the window was covered with thin paper to let some light through but keep out the worst of the cold. I used to sneak in sometimes, just to look at the bright yellow and blue of the painted walls and the pink, green, and blue swirls of the hand-woven rugs. Next to the guest room was our family shrine room, where we all gathered for prayers and meditation on special occasions. We children slept in one bedroom, and my parents had their own room next door. In practice, though, we all tended to drag our respective sleeping mats to the spot most appropriate for the seasons. Sometimes in the summer, my sisters and I would take a blanket and go sleep on the veranda that opened out from the kitchen. I loved to look at the stars and feel the breeze on my skin. The three of us would chat as we were nodding off. Yanchen, Lamo, and Jimmy were younger than me, and I played more with the other 4 boys of our village than with them. But one game I loved to share with my sisters was floating flowers down the stream. As we grew older, they spent more of their time on chores inside the house than I did, so we often spent our days apart. This was the way things in Tibet at that time were. It was a traditional pre-industrial society. I never felt that men were seen as superior to women, and I never saw any abuse of women, but the sexes did have very distinct roles. Our kitchen area had shelves piled with cooking implements and numerous pots full of drinking water. It was the women of the family who had the job of fetching water from the river every day. There was a huge central fire for cooking, where my mother, auntie, and sisters would prepare food. The fireplace was enormous. Whole logs could be fed into it. Its fire burned so hot that everything cooked quickly. There were niches built into the chimney for baking bread. We also had a separate dining room, although mostly we ate informally around the fire. At lunchtime, we ate sampa, the staple foodstuff for Tibetans, a mix of roasted wheat or barley flour and salty butter tea rolled up into balls. We ate it with more butter, cheese, yogurt, and vegetables, sometimes with meat, though that not a daily occurrence. And that was pretty much our entire diet. We had no rice until the Chinese came, no potatoes, no fruit. We had nothing sweet. Some people are surprised that we Tibetans eat meat at all. Buddhists are forbidden to kill any sentient being, and in many countries where Buddhism is practiced, Buddhists are vegetarian. In most of Tibet, though, the conditions did not support a lot of arable agriculture, and we depended on meat, even more so on dairy for our nutrition. We also depended on the butchers who arrived every autumn to kill our animals for us. They were Muslims, and made their living traveling from one village to another to slaughter and butcher sheep, goats, and yak. In the evenings we ate hot soup with more sampa, and afterwards everyone would recite the 21 praises to Green Tara. We knew all the praises off by heart. Green Tara is very important and popular deity within Tibetan Buddhist tradition, as she is viewed as a protectress who rapidly comes to our aid when we are dealing with obstacles and our fear. Tara is a female bodhisattva and strongly associated with compassion, healing, and protection. She has 21 manifestations, each of which is linked with particular qualities and activities. Each one also has its own color. White Tara, for example, is also very popular and is associated with healing and longevity. During the winter, we all slept by the fire. I remember more than once drifting off as I watched my mother and auntie dressing each other's hair with yak butter to keep it shiny, the firelight flickering on their faces as their hands twisted the hair into plaits and swirls that they pinned to their heads. They didn't talk as they worked, and the motion of their fingers and the shadows on their faces lulled me to sleep. This sounds like a rather primitive world. Then I suppose in some ways it was. It was a subsistence economy where we ate what we grew, used firewood as fuel, made our own clothes and blankets out of animal hair and skins. Small surpluses were traded for goods such as cooking pots and shoes. It was not purely a barter economy, since we did use money to purchase more valuable objects such as finer clothes, devotional objects for our shrine room, and wall hangings for the guest room. But it was a world of such material simplicity that it can be hard for people who have grown up with supermarkets and offices, credit cards and salaries, to grasp what it must have felt like. Our obligations came from being mutually dependent on one another, and the need to carry out essential tasks, rather than the requirements of an employer or having bills to pay. Time was determined by the rising and setting of the sun, the waxing and waning of the moon, and the passing of the seasons. So that we're continuing from page 11.
Right. Lovely.
What would you like to say about this section?
See, let's say us in the West, we look at that with style they lived like it's been a hard life. But I don't think it was a hard life to them. I think they're used to it, and they didn't look at it being a hard life.
It was what they knew.
That's what they knew, and they just reared up with that type of life, and it was natural to them, you know.
They were happy.
Oh yeah, they were happy. Yes, they were very happy, and so I was What can I think of now? So I know, and he was talking about playing hide and seek. It was a game I played when I was a boy too, hide and seek.
It's around the world, isn't it?
Yeah, they probably do Blindsman Buck as well. Yes, so that was very.
And he did mention the stars at night.
Oh yes, yes. It'd be beautiful, beautiful to watch the stars at night. And up in the mountain, if the sky is clear, it'd be blazing with stars. You'll see it in every detail, you know.
Goes on forever, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Out into the whole universe.
That's right. It is very, very beautiful.
You feel that connection to a world and a universe that's much bigger than the village.
That's right. Yes.
So a little bit of a difference between the summer experiences and the winter experiences?
That's right. Oh yes, the winter time. They were well cozy and warm with these big fires and the warm houses they went to. They made sure they were nice, cozy and warm. Yes.
And everybody had their important jobs.
Oh yes, and the women must have been very strong to carrying up water. If you're carrying water for a short distance, it's fine. But if you're taking it a long distance, it gets very more heavier as you walk with it.
That's right.
So women were very, very strong.
They would have lots of muscles and flexibility and suppleness.
That's right. Yeah, and it kept them going. They were always busy. You know, they were never. I'm sure they were busy right up until they went to their bed at night.
Yes.
Yeah, kept on the go, and I'm sure they probably get gathered together and told stories.
That's right.
Round the fire.
And he mentioned the 21 praises to Tara.
That's right. Yeah. Om Tari Turi Turi Soha.
Yeah, they have it memorized, don't they?
Oh, by memory, yeah. See, they're doing it for a very young, and they hear the parents reciting it, and they're reared up with that, so it's planted in their memory, you know.
It's very supportive, isn't it? Because anytime there would be fear or concern or obstacles, you would just automatically think, Tara will come. She comes very swiftly, and she's here to help us.
Yeah, so they do that. That's part of the divination, you know, as well. Now, and of course, Jen Racy is another popular one too with them.
He was very lucky to have a house that had a shrine room in it.
So they would have to. So that would be the things they can do after their hard work. The things they can do as to recite Tara and Shenrazi and do some of the practices, because I don't think they had anything else. But that kept them quite happy. And I'm sure they quite enjoyed doing that.
It was nice, wasn't it? They had a special room when the lamas came to visit.
That's right. I'm sure they got some nice teachings from the lamas too when they came.
So even though there wasn't a temple in the village, they were providing the place that the religious activities could take place within their own home.
That's right. Yes. Yes. They hosted that idea. For Business Lamas, yes.
And just by being inquisitive and looking around and noticing things, Lama Yeshe Rinpoche would get a good picture of what his family thought was important and how they were making sure they had the ritual objects they needed for the shrine room and a very beautiful space.
I think all kids the world over are playing get dirty and messed up. You know.
That's true.
I know I had a picture taken one time, and I had my hands like that, because my hands were dirty, and I was getting a picture, I had to cover them up.
And probably as soon as the photo was taken, you immediately went back to playing.
Yeah, that's right. But anyway, I think it was a very good life to have. We didn't have any worries about paying bills and paying rent and paying water rates and all that. Free of it. It was all free for them. So that's a big load off their mind. So it'd be a good opportunity to be free and easy with their life, you know.
Yes.
Yes.
And they had natural resources that they could rely upon, and also
Yeah,
they had a little bit of extra so they could get some special things they also needed.
that's right. Yeah, that would be like that. Yes. So.
Does that cover that section then?
Let's cover that section.
All
Yes.
right.
I suppose we're probably more, but it's just remembering. It's remembering it all. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, clearly this is a story that can be read over and over and over again.
Yeah, that's right.
Because there are quite a lot of things that we will learn as we go along, and then
Yeah.
when we come back again to it, it
And-
will be more familiar.
There'll be things that sticks out in your mind that you want to you remember very strongly. You'll get that too.
That's right. It's a beautiful story, and it's being told so beautifully.
That's right. It's very nice. Yeah.
It will inspire us.
Yes.
We asked Lama Yeshe Rinpoche for inspiration at this time, and he said the book is coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now we have it.
Yeah.
So
Lovely.
our wishes have been fulfilled.
Yes. So far, we'll get more later on. We have more to go.
So that's enough for now.
That's enough for now. Yes.
Okay.